Welcome to the Explainer. Every single day, words are being used to guide your understanding, influence your beliefs, and, well, sometimes they're quietly manipulating you. So today, we're building your textual detective toolkit so you can sift through facts, spot those hidden opinions, and decode complex timelines like an absolute pro. Let's get right into it.
Here's a quick look at our agenda. We're going to tackle the Critical Reader's Challenge, break down fact versus opinion, unmask some hidden biases, decode time sequences, and then finally put our brand new toolkit to the test.
Starting right off with Section 1, the Critical Reader's Challenge. I want you to think of reading kind of like panning for gold. Most of the information people communicate to us is totally mixed up with the dirt of their own personal bias. Sure, a scientific report tries its best to stay clean, but an editorial, an advertisement, or a viral social media post? Come on, those are literally designed to change your mind. Your job as a critical reader is to actively sift through that mud to isolate the actual golden nuggets of objective truth.
That brings us to Section 2, Fact versus Opinion. Let's do a really simple weather test to illustrate this. It's raining outside. Now, that is a verifiable fact. Anyone can step out, feel the water, and measure it, right? But saying it's bad weather today, that is entirely subjective. Think about it. To a farmer in a drought, rain is an absolute miracle. One of these statements is an objective reality, and the other is just a personal feeling.
Okay, keep your antennas up for this quick test. The Alhambra Arts Council is the most beautiful building in Lahore. What do you think? Fact or opinion?
Moving to Section 3, Unmasking Hidden Opinions. And spoiler alert for that last question, it's an opinion. You and I could stand in front of that exact same building and disagree completely on how beautiful it is. But here's the thing, it gets super tricky when opinions wear disguises. You need to treat subjective value words like glowing red warning lights. Words like beautiful, worst, or outstanding. These are massive red flags signaling that you're being fed a personal judgment, not an observed reality. When you spot these words, your critical shields need to go up immediately. Look at how this opinion puts on a factual mask. The truth of the matter is that frozen meat tastes as good as fresh meat. Now, the truth of the matter sounds undeniably official, doesn't it? But what follows is a totally subjective judgment about taste. You cannot let authoritative-sounding phrasing trick you into accepting an opinion as a hard fact. And we see this every single day. A politician boasts about their outstanding record, or maybe an ad promises the most economical car. You've got to interrogate those words. If a car gets great gas mileage but literally has the worst record for breaking down, is it actually the most economical? Always probe those value words. Next up is Section 4, Decoding Time Sequences. So, now that we can effectively spot facts and opinions, we need to understand exactly how they're organized. Events don't just happen in a vacuum. Time relators are essentially the vital textual glue that holds a sequence of events together. Whether you're mapping out some complex project or just recounting history, we can categorize these little clues pretty easily. Words like earlier or already, well, they drop our anchor right in the past. Words like contemporary or meanwhile tell us two things are happening at the exact same time. And terms like subsequent or eventually point our compass straight into the future. Spot these, and the timeline basically builds itself. And hey, it's not just adverbs. The verbs themselves are temporal markers. If I say someone had built an analog computer long before the digital one, that phrase had built is doing all the heavy lifting. It establishes a fixed concrete point in the past, setting up a reference point so we know exactly what happened next. Which brings us to our final stop, Section 5, the Critical Reader's Toolkit. Let's actually put this whole toolkit to work by decoding a real-world text about the history of computers. The very first phrase we see in this example is more than 5,000 years ago. Boom, we have instantly planted our flag in the timeline, firmly establishing the dawn of calculating with fingers and pebbles. Now watch how the text guides us forward. It says, since that time, the abacus was invented. During the 17th and 18th centuries, logarithm tables appeared. And it was not until the early 1800s that Babbage designed his machine. See that? We just walked through centuries of history, seamlessly, entirely guided by those time-relater words. Finally, we take a massive leap into the modern era. The author uses the phrase, since then, to track 4 generations of incredibly rapid change. We move from the massive vacuum tubes of the 1950s to transistors at the beginning of the 1960s, down to integrated circuits by the end of that very same decade, ultimately culminating in the single microchips of the 1970s.
Because we spotted the markers, this highly complex evolution maps out effortlessly.
Being a critical reader isn't about passing some grammar test. It's about not being fooled. It's about pulling apart undeniable facts from cleverly masked opinions and drawing your own accurate maps of reality. So as you step back into the real world today, I'm going to leave you with this. When you read the news, scroll your social media, or listen to a pitch, will you be the one controlling the narrative or the one being controlled by it?